I first heard about the Luminex circle from my coworker Jenna, whose enthusiasm alone could have powered the office if someone hooked cables to her. She practically cornered me in the break room one Tuesday morning while I was minding my own business, staring into my coffee like it had answers. She held this glittery black pamphlet in her hand. It looked like a nightclub flyer trying really hard to be spiritual. "You have to come tonight," she said, her eyes almost too bright. "It changed my life, Evan. Like actually changed it." Normally, this is where I'd shrug, nod politely, and pretend I had laundry to do. But I'd been feeling stuck, financially, mentally, existentially. And the promise of financial freedom in under 6 months sounded like the verbal equivalent of comfort food. So I said yes, assuming the worst that could happen was an awkward sales pitch. I did not expect fog machines. The meeting was in a dim Marriott basement, the kind of place where wedding receptions go to die. Someone had tried desperately to make it feel magical. Purple LED lights glowed along the walls. A fog machine hissed every few minutes, and in the very front was a huge, shimmering banner that said, "Ascend within the circle." People clapped as I walked in, not because I did anything. They were just clapping, slowly, rhythmically, like a cult greeting an invisible messiah. The sound crawled under my skin. Someone shouted, "Welcome, new potential," and everyone cheered, including Jenna, who looked like she might burst into confetti at any moment. Then the lights dropped out completely. A single spotlight snapped on, revealing a tall man stepping onto the stage with the confidence of a televangelist. Shaved head, blinding smile, arms spread wide like he was welcoming us to salvation. "Who is ready to ascend?" he thundered. The room erupted. I clapped once, mostly to appear normal. His name was Dane, and if charisma were a currency, he'd already be a millionaire. Though based on the Google image luxury cars in his slideshow, he was clearly trying to convince us he already was. He talked about wealth vibrations and synergy tunnels and compounded relational capital. Every sentence had at least 3 words that sounded important but said absolutely nothing. People nodded like he was decoding the universe. Then came the pitch. It cost $999 to join the circle. Then $399 per month to maintain your frequency. And while they never used the word require, they made it clear you were expected to recruit 3 new souls per cycle. Souls. I remember sitting there thinking, did he just casually refer to people as souls in a business pitch? I asked Jenna quietly if that was normal. She smiled at me with a strange, softened expression, almost like admiration, but not for me, and whispered, "It's how freedom works." I should have run then. Instead, I gave them my email. This turned out to be the single worst decision of my adult life. The next morning, I had 12 emails waiting for me. All variations of, "Have you chosen to ascend yet?" Written like I was late for a cosmic appointment. Then came texts, then calls, then a voice memo from Dane whispering something about energy flowing where commitment goes. It sounded less motivational and more like something you'd hear behind you in a dark alley. After a long week of stress, financial panic, and terrible judgment, I cracked. I joined. Within 5 minutes of paying, I was assigned a sponsor, a guide to enlightenment and profit. Her name was Coral. She wore all white, spoke exclusively in whispers, and called me Brother Evan like we were in some sacred monastery. She made me list 100 people I could gift the opportunity of ascension to. She called it gifting. I called it burning every relationship I had. I called maybe 10 people. 9 hung up or said they'd think about it and never called back. 1 joined, Trevor, my best friend since high school. For about 2 days, I felt weirdly proud of myself for bringing him in. Then he called me at 1 in the morning, crying, because he'd paid the $999 fee with a credit card he'd already maxed out. He thought he'd make it back instantly. That was what Dane promised. And in that moment, the shiny promise of wealth started to crack. But it was the mid-cycle rally that truly snapped whatever spell I'd been under. Imagine a rave. Now imagine a self-help seminar. Now imagine the unsettling spawn born from their forbidden union. That's what the rally felt like. Fog machines cranked so hard the room looked haunted. People bounced and swayed to motivational EDM. Dane stood in the center, arms raised, spinning slowly like he was absorbing worship. "We are the few who understand," he yelled. "The outside world does not deserve our wealth." The crowd went wild. I stood frozen. Because I realized with horrifying clarity that none of these people were wealthy. Not one. Everyone here was tired, stressed, drowning in monthly fees, but too deep in to admit they'd been duped. They weren't chasing freedom. They were clinging to hope disguised as opportunity. Trevor found me in the fog. "Dude," he said, eyes wide, "you think maybe we messed up?" That was the moment reality returned. Leaving wasn't easy. Coral called me nonstop. Jenna cornered me at work crying, saying I was rejecting her assent. Dane left me multiple voice messages about betraying the vibration like he was some kind of spiritual mob boss. They even told Trevor that I was blocking his enlightenment by trying to leave. But after blocking numbers, threatening to report them, and ignoring every guilt trip they could throw, the pressure finally faded. 1 week later, Trevor and I sat in our usual bar in a silence that felt like oxygen returning after a long, suffocating dream. Eventually, he said, "We joined a cult, dude." "A broke one," I added, raising my glass. "A tired, fog machine-obsessed cult." We laughed. The kind of laugh you only have when you survived something stupid, terrifying, and strangely hilarious in hindsight. It took months for me to stop seeing their slogans in my head. Took even longer for Trevor to pay off his credit card. But we got out. And now, whenever I see an MLM pitch, or someone promising wealth through frequency, or an influencer leaning too hard on the word freedom, I get this little shiver up my spine. Because somewhere out there, I know another fog machine is hissing. And Dane is stepping onto another stage, raising his arms, smiling that too bright smile, ready to welcome the next new potential. And all I can think is, not today.